Okay, everybody knows that the AR is king. But what if you want something that's different, unique, it's quieter, maybe it's just cooler than an AR? Something that can provide you a similar pricing to an AR, but some very interesting and different benefits. Well, that's what we're going to look at today as I give you 7 very unique, interesting, and a variety of different guns that will cover a variety of different budgets as well. Because even though most AR alternatives, I would say, are not going to be super budget friendly, some of these options are not going to break the bank either. Some of these things, it's really hard to compare with the AR in general because there's so many different great companies that make them, from high end to low end to middle of the road, but sometimes you just want something different. And so that's what we're going to look at, and I think I come out with maybe even a better list than what I did in my first iteration of this video. Now, of course, a lot of you are going to agree. Maybe some of you are going to adamantly disagree. That's totally fine. Leave your opinion down below and let me know right off the rip what you think the best AR alternative. Even if you love the AR platform, what is your go-to AR alternative? Go ahead and leave that down below. Let's jump right in. So I guess we should start with the AUG right here. Now, I think bullpups, there's a few different ones out there that I really enjoy. When it comes to my favorite, it's not the AUG, but this is probably my second, maybe my third favorite. There's not a ton of them on the market, unfortunately, when it comes to good bullpups, but this one offers some very unique things in and of itself. Now, these were developed in the 70s, right? So it's an old, but it's an established design, very similar to the AR, of course. And one of the coolest features, I think, personally, not that I use it much, but when it comes to like cleaning and stuff, this is fantastic. So you can actually change the barrel, boom, just like that. You can't do that with ARs. Now, how useful and practical is this to most people? I don't know, maybe, maybe not, but I just find that feature really cool. And you get a kind of an idea of how solid this system, how robust it really is. It is a tank. Slide that back down in there, and boom, it locks into place. The other cool thing I like about this, of course, it is a rifle, so it has over a 16-inch barrel, but the overall configuration is super short. The other cool thing is I can take and pull this out and fold this down, so now I can have access to that vertical grip whenever I'm going just free standing, or I can fold it up whenever I decide to go to a bench. Charging handle on the left-hand side, non-reciprocating. You have your bolt release right here. You have your magazine release right underneath the bolt release. And then you have your safety selector. It is a cross-bolt style, very traditional style right there. Hand grip, very similar to what you may find on other bullpups. Comfortable, ergonomic, no problem there. Mrs. Techshot actually pointed this out, and I agree with her. That the cheek rest on this thing is just super comfortable. And of course, rocking the Trijicon ACOG 4x32, of course, definitely completes the package. I think it's pretty much a perfect fit. You have these side folding sights right here, so you still have backups there if needed, which is really cool. And of course, my buddy Bebe, some of y'all know him, actually put on the flashlight right there. Sling swivels, quick detach right there as well. Now, the original versions had like an integrated scope option. And so the more modernized ones, of course, have just kind of went to a rail. And there's several different variations of this, but this one specifically, I think, is really well suited to modern shooters. Now, overall, accuracy is about, I think, what you would expect out of a bullpup. You're not going to get like sub MOA out of these things, but to me, I'm not too concerned with that pretty much ever. If I find myself in a position where I'm hitting steel over and over and over, that means that I've put myself in a position where if, God forbid, there's a self-defense situation or even a zombie apocalypse, I'm going to be able to do what I need to do with this right here. And so, not too worried about the sub MOA thing. If you are concerned with that, this is probably not the gun for you. The one area that you'll find yourself probably lacking, not just because of the overall design and how bullpups are made, right? But also the trigger is probably one of the worst on this gun. It's heavy, kind of unpredictable, and not great, but good enough for self-defense purposes, like I said. The magazines are proprietary, so that kind of sucks. Overall, though, this is a fantastic gun. A great AR alternative, and pricey, like some of these guns are, but still, this offers you something so unique and different, and a lot of great features as well. Now, I got to thank my friends over at Checkmate Mags for sponsoring today's video, because they make an extremely high quality 2011, 1911, M1A mags even, and others that are made with American stainless steel. They use a through hardened process, and they polish them on the inside and out. These things are absolutely beautiful, and they function well. They have an anti-friction, self-lubricating follower on the inside, made right here in America, of course, with American steel, like I said, and these things are fantastic. They're also doing something really cool for my community. They have a prize package that they've put together, so really pretty freaking awesome. And they're actually running a discount code for you guys as well. When it comes to aftermarket mags, I am super picky, and I was kind of always against it, but when a company makes mags this high quality, I'm all about it, and they're made right here in America. So I know I'm sold on them, and I really appreciate them sponsoring today's video. Well, I know what some of you are gonna say. Hey, you don't like PSA. Why are you showing that gun? Well, PSA got me, right? With the whole Trump fight gun they released earlier this year, I was like, yeah, that looks freaking awesome. And I thought, hey, in my opinion, even though I've never been the biggest fan of PSA, I've talked about that. Some of you liked that video, some of you did not. That's fine. And I don't really believe in condemning a company forever, right? I think that second chances are a good thing. And I think sometimes we have to make personal choices and second chances with anything, right? And so I thought, hey, I really like this design. It's a newer design. It's not a new gun from PSA, but it's a newer design. Let's give it a shot. And I gotta say, the Jackal did fantastic. Now, aside from the cosmetic differences, you do have stuff like the PSA flat face trigger, which, I gotta be honest with you, this thing is really, really tough. When I say tough, I say that in a good way. I mean, excellent. Reset, the pull, it's light, it's crisp, it's predictable. Amazing job. Now they use a long stroke gas system, and you have multiple positions here with the gas block. So these original designs, they had like some barrel issues from what I've read. They had some ejection issues from what I've seen. Some of y'all, of course, mentioned the gas issues with the originals. They've kind of gone back to the drawing board and, of course, updated some of these things. They have a 2.0 version out now. Which is kind of interesting. You have their flash hider on here with a 8620 front trunnion. You have the shot peen bolt. A lot of awesome components in this specific gun. I mean, they just really did a fantastic job. Of course, this one has the custom skeletonized, oversized trigger guard there. So if you have gloves or anything like that, it takes traditional AR mags. Side charging handle, which can be reversed. Pretty much fully ambidextrous, right? Except for the bolt release. And then, you know, with a gas system, a long stroke gas system, of course, it's going to run a little bit cleaner. It may run better, and it's going to be less fouling whenever you run it suppressed. Came with the backup IMBA sights. You have the B&T stock. So of course, now there's adapters for the AR, even on a traditional buffer system AR, direct impingement. Where you can fold the stock, but this one, of course, any piston gun, we don't need that spring back here. We don't need the buffer in the back. So side folding, locks into place. B&T makes one of the better stocks out there. And of course, it slides right back into place, very robust. I absolutely love the B&T stocks there. And so overall, the gun did fantastic. That's what I was looking for, was reliability, and I definitely got a good one. So I'll tell you, man, you know, I think the base price on these is like 13. So you're not going to be upwards of $2,000, right? You're going to be more in line with some of the medium to higher grade AR pricing, and yet you get the benefits, kind of like an AK or even like a SCAR in a way, with that operating system and some improvements over the AR, while still keeping some of the convenient things like the controls, the mags, of course, and all that. So some of you may be thinking, what are you doing with that in an AR alternative video? Well, I'm going to think outside the box here. First of all, when it comes to budget, the 1022 is where it's at. Second of all, when it comes to options in aesthetics, kind of hard to beat this. The other thing too is some people talk about wanting an AR because it's relatively cheap to shoot and they are light on recoil. If you're looking for a defensive gun, this is not the answer. But if you're looking for a gun used as a trainer, which is something militaries have been doing since the World War I essentially, especially in World War II as well, is they use 22s as trainers. Now this is not going to give you the same battery of arms like an AR, but you can shoot a lot cheaper. So if you want to train somebody, for instance, you want very little recoil. You want to do that cheaply and just a solid platform to get that job done. The Ruger 1022 is where it's at. Plus, I just wanted an excuse to bring this gun back out because I think it's freaking awesome. I'm running the rugged Oculus on this, and it has, of course, the stainless steel barrel with the carbon fiber wrap. This is one of Ruger's new offerings, and I absolutely love this setup. It's very lightweight. You have the MOE X22 lower here from Magpul. Nice stippling right there on the grip. Magazine release is intuitive. Kind of push it forward. The magazines don't really, well, they kind of rock in a little bit like an AK. So again, it's not going to give you AR style controls. And I tell you one thing that you could do too, that is relatively cheap, is you could take most modern ARs and get 22 conversions for them. So now you can really shoot your gun, and you want to keep the same battery arms, you want to be consistent, I get all that, and still do it and shoot very cheaply, and it's a great trainer. This one here as a dedicated training, squirrel, small game, and yes, even a zombie gun is absolutely fantastic. So lightweight, very minimal recoil, and I'm not going to be able to see anything with those scope caps on, but this little Crossfire 2 3-9x40 is almost perfect for this setup. And yes, it already came with the Picatinny rail on top. Like I said, you don't have to go with this style. There's more tactical, there's more classic versions. They have a lot of them out there. This thing has a great trigger too. Overall, fantastic gun. And if your needs call for something like this just for training, as opposed to an AR, this might be a really good option for some of you. Showed you some budget options so far. On the higher end, if you have a little bit more to spend and you want something that is truly unique, different, and is super quiet, especially in 300 blackout, the Honey Badger is where it's at. I openly admit that, is this gun worth the price that they're commanding? I don't know, dude. It's really hard to justify. And to be honest with you, it's almost overbuilt. And I kind of appreciate that because I know this gun is going to run for a really long time. I don't expect to have any issues out of it. I haven't so far. And it is just a pistol. And so my expectations with this originally were probably too much when it comes to distance. But inside of 200 yards, which, let's just be honest, is going to be practical for a lot of people. Most people, I'd probably say. This is going to do a fine job. Now, I actually ended up replacing the cherry bomb that comes on here and putting an ASR mount so I can mount my Omega 36M. You have a one-piece monolithic upper. You can use standard AR mags, so that is another good selling point for this gun. And of course, your controls are basically like an AR, right? Ambidextrous safety selector right there, flat face trigger. Make sure we're clear. Amazing trigger, dude. Reset. Very audible, tactile, get back to the wall, pulls through. This thing is really incredible inside of 200 yards. You have the folding pistol brace here. This is one of the guns that ATF hates that we can have. They hate it. They've tried to change it. They've tried to scare everybody into registries and all that kind of stuff. They hate that you can own this gun. And that makes me love it even more. I mean, this is one of the companies that the ATF came after specifically, and Q did not back down. I think they deserve a lot of respect for how they handled that whole situation. Pistol brace is very functional, easy to use, easy to fold off. Now this one does have a proprietary buffer system, okay? It can be a little bit annoying, to be quite honest with you, but overall, once you get the hang of it, you kind of slide the two pieces together like a pistol. That's probably the best way I found to actually do it. And here's the thing with this gun. 300 Blackout can be really finicky. I mean, you know, other companies that design ARs in this caliber, they're trying to accommodate that platform to this caliber, and yet when Q designed this, or when AAC originally designed it and carried on by Q, they designed the gun specifically for 300 Blackout. So while you do have limitations in distance, like I talked about, if you want something different than a 5.56, if you want some of those advantages that 300 Blackout can give you, especially suppressed, the gas system, everything is tuned for 300 Blackout. And let's just be honest, when it comes to a traditional AR, a pistol with a brace like this is going to be so much more maneuverable inside of your home. And so this is going to lend itself very well to corners, tight spaces, even, I dare say, a truck gun, although I would definitely have a lockbox if you keep any gun in your truck, to be quite honest with you, especially for long-term storage. There's some really great storage options for quick use, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be locked up. I don't agree or believe in that at all. But assuming your state allows this, of course, you need to know all that stuff, legalities and all that. But there's some really great truck covers or setups where you can take this on the passenger side, boom, place it up there, and have it ready to go. And I mean, this is one of the most perfect guns for something like that. Just be really careful when you have long-term storage with your guns in your truck or your vehicle. You don't want to be arming criminals. None of us do, and you don't want to be stolen from either, to be honest with you. This is a lot of money, right? Pair that with this Trijicon. That's a hard pill to swallow, to be quite honest with you. But it offers a lot of great benefits, and I'm really glad to own it. If you don't want to spend $3,000 on one gun, which I totally understand, let's move to one that actually might be more practical for most people, including myself. The old Sugar Weasel. You're going to save yourself a lot of money right off the rip going with this option. Both of them made by Q, and I gotta be honest with you, maybe long term the Honey Badger is gonna last longer, I guess, but this thing right here was quite impressive. Fully safety selector, ambidextrous. I think when it comes down to some of the controls, it's a little bit easier to manipulate, a little bit smoother, I think is the way to say it. So, you know how if you ever shot like a high-end gun like a Scar, right? You pick those guns up and you're like, man, this safety selector feels cheap. And just some of the components on Scars don't match the price they command. Let's just be honest. And when I operate this gun compared to the Badger definitely does feel smoother. So it's almost like, okay, I can see some of the differences, but if you just like different guns and you want a gun that's actually going to provide you pretty much anything an AR will, and you want to save yourself like $1,200 right off the rip, this is actually a pretty amazing option. Now, some of the things you won't find on this gun, of course, is like the monolithic upper. Okay, they use a traditional two-piece design. My friend that actually owns this has the bipod on here. This gun is in 5.56, by the way. Not something I would necessarily put on this rifle, but whatever. I kind of like this bipod because you can actually keep it at a 45, or you can go straight. You can kind of move it back just a little bit like that, I guess, if you wanted to. This is one of Q's bipod, so it matches up perfectly in color and design and overall aesthetics. Where you have custom billet on the Badger, this one's going to be aluminum. Where the gas system I don't think is necessarily tuned. They still say it runs great suppressed, and I talked to my buddy who obviously runs this thing suppressed. When you look at that cherry bomb, that thing is filthy, right? So and he says it does a fine job. It does not have your side folding. It uses a standard buffer system as opposed to the proprietary. So I didn't really notice that much of a difference. This thing is super soft shooting. Compare that to the 300 Blackout, which isn't a direct comparison, but this thing is so freaking smooth. I mean, Mrs. Heckshot fell in love with this. And of course, it always helps when you pair it up with a good piece of glass. You still have the Radiant Raptor charging handle, which is probably the best in the game, to be honest with you. And it just uses more standard parts, but you do have a flat face trigger. One thing I noticed with this gun, it's really interesting. I didn't think it was cycling properly actually at first. when you hit the wall, there's like no resistance. You pull through, okay, that feels pretty good. The reset is literally right there, but at first I was like, oh, the gun didn't reset, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it did reset. You hear that? Yeah, you can barely feel a reset on this gun. Looks good, looks cool. Very different than what you'll find on a traditional AR. The AK platform has been around for a long time. This is a Wasser 10 made in Romania. They actually have forged receivers. They're heat treated. They're made in the Sugar, I'm probably butchering this, Sugar, some of you, correct me, that's mine, factory. But anyways, they're made in the same factory where military versions of the AKM are. Century Arms, of course, imports these. And, you know, when you compare it to like an Arsenal or Zastava, guns like that, I mean, they're going to come in much cheaper, right? At a very reasonable price, actually. And it's kind of like a no frills type of thing. Now he's changed obviously some components on this, and that's one of the cool parts about it too. Very similar to what you'll find in the AK. If you like to tinker and you like to change things and make it better, make it your own, obviously the market supports that. For some of these other guns, you can't say the same, right? But for the AK and the AR, they really do provide everybody just a chance to make the gun your own. So that part of it is so freaking cool. And like I said, they're just relatively cheap to shoot, very reliable, right? These things are known for working in environments where the AR couldn't, right? When it came to heavy brush in Vietnam and other parts of the world, sandy, dusty, snowy, wherever the AK is used, it just works. It does better, 7.62 by 39, does better when it comes to barriers, right? Heavy brush than the 5.56. And while you probably aren't going to get sub-MOA accuracy, again, it comes down to that whole self-defense thing. And you can make these things super reliable, especially under 300 yards, which for most people I think is going to be very practical. Sights are solid. I had read something where the earlier 2000 versions of these guns actually had some like wobbly sights and some other kind of minor things, but they've obviously cleaned that up. It's just a no frills gun. And if you can get past the battery of arms, which of course is going to be different, but if you can get past that, man, these things are absolutely fantastic and they are going to run pretty much anywhere. That's what this gun is known for. And if you're somebody that doesn't like to necessarily clean your guns a lot, which I fall into that category, the AK is a great platform for that as well. And the last one is the Garand, the M1D specifically, or the M1A. You know I gotta do this video to feed you. I gotta do this video to feed you. 5 minutes. All right, down, down, down. So the M1D, just one of the coolest guns I've ever purchased in my life. And while this may not appeal to as many people, there's still some great options out there like the M1A, which has some similarities to this. And I didn't really need an excuse to bring this back out of the range, but kind of just wanted to be totally honest. And even the M1A, the M1 Grand, they shoot fantastic. 308 or 30-06. There's even some Grands out there that have been converted to 308 as well. So the M1As, the modern M1As, give you the action and some of the aesthetics of the M1 Grand or the M14 in a way. It's about the closest you can get to an M14, but you still have modern conveniences. Where this gun, you know, was a very early version of a sniper. It has the scope mount right here. So this basically twists and click right into place. This is the original scope, by the way. I did a whole video on this gun, so if you want to see the unboxing, the lore, the first shots, one of my favorite videos of all time that I've ever done. And I know a lot of y'all enjoyed it too. But regardless of what you get is a gun that feels very old, right? It has a lot of features that modern shooters, some modern shooters may not want. But if you want a long range competition, M1 Garand specific competitions is something I found out from the gentleman that I bought this gun from. Garand competitions, long range, short range. This thing can really do it all. Some of the guns are bedded, so that improves the accuracy even more. And while the M1A and the M1 Garands too, they are kind of expensive, you know, modern M1As kind of fall in line with a lot of the guns that I've shown you, under $2,000 for sure. Some of them a little bit more. And of course, M1Ds like this are going to be a little bit more. But if you just want something that is very unique, super robust, super reliable, and you want to get into like long range shooting, the 308 and even the 30-06 are just fantastic calibers for this. I had a chance to actually stretch the legs on this gun out to 300 yards. Unfortunately, my range is not allowing up to 600, which is what they have because of some construction that's way off, but they want to be respectful, so I understand that. But regardless, at 300 yards, I compared this to the Scar, which is a video upcoming, and I think you guys will be very, very surprised of how good this thing actually did. So in my opinion, if you want kind of the best of both worlds, you want to, you know, not spend a ton of money like this for an M1D, you go with an M1A with your Picatinny rail. In my opinion, the wood one, I forget what they call it, the M1, there's like an M1A loaded, there's a match version, whatever, but the wooden one with the Picatinny rail, get you a nice scope on that thing and you will have a freaking blast. These things are fantastic. And I'm really proud to own this, but now I really want an M1A too. So, you know, that's on the short list as well. And it offers you something different, right? Totally different than what you'll find with the AR, and kind of the predecessor to the AR when you think about it. The M1A, the M1 Garand, these are kind of what set the stage for the M16 to come along in Vietnam, of course. Now, I know we said 7, but I want to show you one more AR alternative for people that are on a budget as well, where you don't even have to buy a new gun at all. This is the Psy from Reap Industries, and coming in at less than 500 bucks. I think they even still have a discount code through my channel, which is pretty cool. But it was very surprising that I like this thing at all. When I first saw it, when I first got it, I'm like, this is kind of gimmicky. Conversions aren't really my thing necessarily, but this one is good. High quality, made here in the USA, a US company, and I think what they're doing is actually pretty freaking amazing. You use your standard AR lower, you pair it with whatever upper that you want. The BRN 180 seems to be like a good fit for this specifically, but you can utilize any AR system or a standard buffer system. You have the sickle stock that I put on here, so the overall length obviously goes down from a regular AR to just like a bullpup, same velocity, right? Because it is rifle length, and it uses a rifle length barrel. DFCO grip, nice texturing on that grip, nice profile. I think it fits in perfectly, leaves enough room here so you can get a nice purchase on that, and of course get down on the gun. The only thing I really want to change is I think I want to move this up just a little bit of a riser, and probably maybe put something right there eventually. But overall, for what this thing provides you, it is such a cool and different idea that seems high quality too. The other thing that you don't really get with this one, as opposed to other bullpups like the AUG, where obviously it's super expensive, but also the trigger just sucks. This one adds less than a pound on your trigger pull. When you put it together, you actually, you know, utilize their kind of low friction transfer or trigger bar, and you butt it right up against the trigger, right? So it adds less than a pound. You have a series of screws. You utilize 4 pins as opposed to 2, and boom, there you go. You have a nice compact package, and you don't even necessarily have to buy another gun. So there's a little bonus AR alternative for some of you as well. Now, of course, I want to hear your opinion, and I'm really interested to see what was the first AR alternative that y'all put in the comments, or what do you think the best one is? Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.